ready?
I've been ready.
You got to tell me 5.
You have a bloopers section for your show?
A bluebird?
Bloopers? A bloopers section, you know?
We should. Yeah. Hey everybody, good morning. This is Nikki Burnett with Taste Life Nutrition Radio and podcast streaming live on KUHSdenver.com. Talking about bloopers, which would be super fun. We should have a bloopers section. Mostly because if anybody's going to screw up the technology, it's going to be me. It's just constant.
Or me, right there with you.
Anyway, hey, good to see y'all. Today is, I think I said this already, Taste Life Nutrition Radio and Podcast, streaming live on KUHSdenver.com. We have the amazing Kate Kripke on with us today, who is a maternal mental health specialist. Did I get that right? I don't have my glasses on, but
you got it right.
Awesome. This is going to be such a good show because we're in this world now. I don't have kiddos, but I know so many people with kiddos who are women in particular, because that's kind of who we're talking to, right? But who are doing all of the things, right? Raising kids. They are building businesses, or they're starting businesses, or they're executives, or they just have a lot going on. You can be volunteering, all of the things and the expectations and the requirements and the kids, and what's happening? We're burning out, right? And
yep.
The thing that I say a lot is if we don't feel well, we're not going to do well. We got kids. We want to try to do the best we can, right? It's a big part of raising little humans. So thank you, Kate, for joining us. I'm super excited about today and all that you're doing.
I am really honored to be here. I'm psyched for this conversation, Nikki. Thanks.
Cool, of course. So as always, we start the show with gratitude. Gratitude can change the world. I think it's an amazing thing. It can change our nervous system. It's good to I try to wake up in prayer and talking about all the things I'm grateful for. I wish I could say I went to bed in gratitude. Sometimes I do. I pray, and sometimes I just go to sleep. But I am always grateful. So, Kate, what are you grateful for today?
Oh my gosh. I have a daughter. My 2 daughters are 16 and 19, and I have a daughter who just returned from a semester in Japan studying abroad.
My husband did that. Amazing.
Yeah, really living with a family, going to a public school. And I am grateful for her safe return. I am grateful for my relationship with her. I'm just feeling really, we're going to talk about all kinds of things that have to do with mothering and parenting, and I think there's so much we can worry about. We can talk today about what we worry about that maybe we could put down, but anyway, I'm grateful for having her home today.
How long was she gone?
She was gone for 5 months.
Whoa, that's a good one. I think my husband was gone for 3 months when he did it. So, but I mean, he still talks about it, right? It's like an experience of a lifetime.
Life-changing.
Yeah, for sure. Another thing that he did is after he graduated, he decided he was going to go to Israel and visit a buddy of his for a couple of weeks, and ended up staying for almost a year. So another crazy thing that kids get to do, right?
I mean, it's like this willingness and desire, again, right along in lines with what we're going to talk today about today, to do hard things, right?
So good.
How do we take care of ourselves while we do those hard things? So
amazing. Yeah, he backpacked around Europe, and he worked when he needed to, and he just did the whole thing, right? It was such a cool experience.
That is so awesome.
I'm a little jealous. I didn't do anything like that. So good for your daughter.
Well, you still can.
Oh, it's true. We talk about that. We do. We talk about that.
Still can.
It would be awesome. Okay, so what am I grateful for? I think I'm great. It's funny because I'm not one who really, I don't subscribe to or just don't pay much attention to like the going from the snake gear to the fire horse gear kind of stuff. Do you know what I'm talking about? And everybody's talking about this, the shedding and the moving into what is to be and all the big things in 2026. And so I think I'm excited about it because everybody's excited about it. But I do feel like there's a lot of things that happened in 2025 that I'm like, okay, good, done. I sort of am letting that one go and moving in, and I have felt a little bit of a shift, whatever that means. But I think that I'm just kind of grateful for, it's the new beginnings. It's kind of a fun year. It's going to be 70 degrees today, almost.
What the heck? I know. I don't know whether to be happy about that or terrified by that, but I enjoy the warm weather.
I'm a Texas girl, so I love the warm weather. So makes me super happy. I find so one of the things I'm grateful for during the summer when it is warmer is that I get to go outside, and that's where I do my meditation. So today I'm thinking I get to go outside. I get to lay in the sun for a little bit. That I'm super grateful for. It fires me up, makes me so happy. Yeah.
Amazing.
Cool. Yeah. Okay, so let's do this. Let's talk a little bit about mom burnout, right? All of the things that go along with that. So one of the things, I said this already, most everybody who watches this knows, I don't have kids, I have dogs. So I can't come from this from a true perspective of understanding, except for talking with clients and friends and family members who are doing all of the things, right? And I'm going to tell you, I may not have kids. I still feel like I have to do all of the things, especially when you're running and building a business and you're, taking care of people and that kind of thing. So I would throw out there that even if you don't have kiddos, if you are, someone who is of service, right? If you, whatever that looks like for you, you're still working your tail off most of the time doing all of the things. So this truly is for everyone. It also is for men, whether you're supporting women or whether you're doing the same things. You're supporting the family and you're doing your work and all of it. So I don't mean to go on and on, but burnout's a big thing. It's a big thing for all of us. And but your people are women. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think so first of all, you're absolutely right. Anybody who listens to this today will walk away with really important insights that they can do something with immediately.
Good.
That's my promise to your listeners. There are two big differences for mothers. Number one is that they're women, and there's a lot of pressure that a lot of women feel around people pleasing and being helpers, and this can come from our families of origin, it can come from social pressures, community, culture, it can come from lots of things. The other thing that makes us different is that maternal and child mental health are intimately connected. And so if we want to raise healthy children, we have to tend to ourselves first, because our children will bear the burden of the impacts of things like anxiety, burnout, and other things that we might talk about today. So it really is a direct, our sense of well-being or lack thereof has a direct impact in our little humans. And I've never met a mother that doesn't want her little human to be healthy.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, of course. And there are two things that come to mind for me. One of them is during pregnancy, these emotions and neurotransmitters, right? You can take it mental and emotional. You can also take it biochemical, right? They are going to impact kiddos prior to birth, but then also, and this again, it's outside of my world, but I'm going through a little short program, and the thing that keeps kind of going through is you have these things that sort of develop, that happen to you, right? Whatever it might be, under the age of 7, right? That can impact. It's like a, oh man, I can't think of my words right now, but it's like it sticks with you. It sticks with you throughout that time.
An adverse childhood experience is probably what you're thinking of.
Yeah. Well, I think whether it's adverse or just something that it creates this mold and creates this impression in your brain, and it sticks with you, and then you start to, and you may not understand why you react to certain things when you're 35. And you're like, oh, because of this thing when I was 7, but you've got to sometimes have help figuring that piece of it out. Anyway, point to that is, we it's not that we can be perfect and expect not to have impact on our kiddos at any age, but I think that it's so important to know that there is that impressionable phase of childhood. Yes?
Absolutely. I mean, I'd love to debunk some myths that a lot of us hold on to in this conversation today. Myths about what it means to be a good mom, myths about what's required for secure attachment with our children, myths about what it means to be a high achiever. I mean, there's so much out there that we carry into motherhood with us that can color the way we show up during stressful moments in early motherhood and beyond. And yes, I mean, I think we are looking at a early development of a child's brain, and we are imprinted in our earliest years. You are, and I am. And the model that I work on, what I work with all of my clients, is that our deepest beliefs about ourselves, to your point, which we inherit when we're young, right? They live under the surface. We may not even realize that we have them. Those form the kind of thoughts we have on a day-to-day basis, often in times of stress. Those thoughts, kind of create certain emotions and behaviors. Those emotions and feelings, those emotions and feelings motivate behavior, and behavior turns into habit, and then leads to the results of our life. So many of us go-getters, we say, I just have to do more, or I just have to do something different. And if we're not actually looking at the underlying beliefs that we hold, those new habits aren't going to last very long. They're not going to be sustainable. So, yeah, I mean, this whole concept you're talking about right now, Nikki, affects us as mothers and humans and adults, and also our children when we're, bringing them into this world.
Right. I think that we could also take it a step further back, right, and go into the generational stuff, right? That generational stuff impacts all of us. I'm sure you see that a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is in many ways what brought me to this work. But, we don't mean to cause harm to our children. Right?
Sure.
Most of us, most of us are not wanting to cause harm to our children. Many of us are very unintentionally showing up in ways that are harmful to our children. And again, that doesn't mean we have to be perfect. We can make tons of mistakes and repair those mistakes. But if we're not aware of how our nervous system is impacting the nervous system of our children, then we're going to miss the opportunity, really, to give our kids what they need most, which is a sense of safety and security.
Yeah. So let's do this. You had said that it was the generational stuff that kind of brought you into this work. What's your story? How did you come to this place?
Yeah, I grew up in New York City, raised by two parents who clearly loved me, but who were both struggling with a ton of anxiety. My mom was a powerhouse professional. She was breaking all kinds of glass ceilings in New York City in the 70s and 80s and 90s. She was extremely anxious. People pleaser. She passed away 8-9 years ago, and the last thing she said to me before she died, like the last time she was visiting Colorado and I was driving her to the airport, she said, Kate, I've been running for class president every day of my life.
Oh, you just gave me chills. Wow.
And she died at 71 from a stress related, she had a heart attack. So, and she won every day. That's what's so bizarre. Like, she literally won class president every day. So she was going. And as her daughter, I absorbed that. I watched the way she functioned in the world. I watched her level of perfectionist expectations of herself. I watched herself beat herself up when she wasn't meeting those expectations. We say in our line of work, in maternal mental health work, our children breathe in the emotions that we breathe out.
Wow.
It's not that it's not okay to feel the gamut of human emotions. We're going to. But when we get stuck in that emotional experience, in that, perceived state of threat, we are not doing our own physiology and our mind any benefit, and we're also not helping our children. So I was raised by a mom who was very stressed out, and I suffered from tons of anxiety and panic for most of my life. When I had my first daughter, who's now 19, I had significant postpartum anxiety, which is very common, especially for high-performing, high-achieving women. And as soon as my second daughter was born, I was like, oh, I see what's happening here. And I will not project this anxiety onto my girls. So I really needed to learn how to kind of move through that anxiety and move through the world in a brand new way so that I could show up the way I really wanted and needed to, so that my daughters could experience their own anxiety, their own worries in the world, and not also carry mine.
Yeah. Well, and in my world, we talk about stress, right? And I think so often what we think about in stress is it's the mental and emotional stress, but the mental and emotional stress creates physical stress, which leads to disease.
Absolutely.
Right? So it may be the mental and emotional, it may be the anxiety, it may be the always running for class president, but it manifests, as you said with your mom, it manifests physically. How? Disease, heart attacks, strokes, you name it. And so if we're not managing, 71, that's young.
It's young. I mean, you think about, to your point, if my nervous system is in a chronic state of threat, right? My body, to your point, my physiology does not know the difference between real and perceived threat.
Right.
So if my nervous system is a chronic state of threat and I'm tight and tense, none of those systems are going to work. Metabolism, digestion, reproduction, endocrine, none of those systems work the way we want them to. So very, very interconnected.
Yeah. I always I like to put pictures to things, and when we are in a state of stress, and this is, again, it's the physiology, it's the biochemical, it's the way that it works, is that if we're sitting in rest and digest, we have our blood is at the core, it's doing its job, we're calm. But if we are in a state of stress, especially a chronic state of stress, it leaves the core. There's still some there, right? But it's mostly going to the periphery because it's expecting you to need to do something. So it's going to your limbs and shunt it away from the core. And so you're shunting blood away from all of those systems that are so important, including the heart, right? And then you have, it moves into the vagal tone dysfunction the vagus nerve dysfunction. And it just goes on and on, right? And so everything is so interconnected and plays together, the mental, the emotional, the physical, and then it goes into the relational, right? And so everything's connected, and we have to, I think it's so important that we view it that way, because just like you said, again, going back to it's connected, we are then connecting with those around us and placing all of that on them.
One of the things I find so spot on about what you're talking about is that what I find in my work so often is that many women are used to living in what I call achievement brain. They're used to doing, achieving, going, not slowing down, adding things to their to-do list, right? Like going. That is that there's a problem if I slow down and rest, therefore I have to keep moving, right? What's required for a healthy motherhood experience for both a mother and her child is what I call the connection brain. It's a very different way of being, and it involves slowing down, and it involves the heart. So to your point, it's like all that, rest and digest, where we've got, we're able to be present, we're able to slow down, we're able to connect. When we're in that constant state of threat, there's a problem that I need to fix. We're not able to access the thing that our children need most from us, which is our presence.
So the thing that came up for me, because I think that this runs in my family, I know with my mom, and I think that I get it a little bit, but what is the guilt thing? Right? It's this, if I'm not going, if I'm not moving, if I'm not doing everything that I can, if I'm not getting through my list, if I'm not busy, you name it, it's the guilt, right? I'm not doing enough. I need to do more. I get this, and just trying to build my own business every single day. If I'm not doing everything that I can at all times, then I feel guilty because I'm not doing enough, right?
Yeah. I love questions about guilt, because guilt, like any other emotion, is never the problem. I really want to send that message today. The feelings, the emotions are never the problem, right? Guilt is really alerting us to this kind of experience of feeling like we've broken some kind of a rule. We've done something wrong. And the opportunity is to really pause and say, well, what rule am I telling myself I've broken? So often those rules or shoulds stem from these earlier beliefs that we just talked about that we have about ourselves. And the one I hear coming from you, I would be curious to know if this resonated for you, Nikki, so I'm going to put you on the spot, but I'll tell you if it does.
Yeah.
Me too. Those of us who feel like we're not doing enough often have some fear-based belief that we are not enough.
Yeah, I would say it totally resonates.
In motherhood, for women who enter motherhood, that becomes the fuel for anxiety, burnout, overwhelm. Because if I'm not enough, right, if that's the belief, the thoughts I have in times of stress, my baby is crying, or there's 10 things on my to-do list, is I'm not doing enough. I have to do more to prove that I am enough, right? So then we are engaging in these actions, doing more actions, and then the emotion we feel is exhaustion or anxiety, right?
Yeah.
And the result, of course, is that we are disconnected from the people that we care most about, or we're not sleeping at night, or we are getting sick because our systems aren't working. And in my world, or we have an infant or a baby or a toddler who is having a hard time sleeping or having a hard time eating or having struggles with their behavior. And really what we know from attachment's perspective is that's because what they need most is our presence.
Yeah.
And that belief is motivating behavior that takes us farther away from our child.
One of the things that I love that you said is the guilt is basically, you said it's a symptom, right?
Yes.
Yeah, which is that's what I hear, because that's the stuff that I talk about. It's like when when your body's talking to, whether it's guilt, whether it's pain or brain fog or disease or whatever the case is, right? The body's talking to you, and so learning to understand that language of the body, which is something that I talk about a lot, because it's not easy. It's like we have lost our understanding of how to listen to the body, and it's, you know, the mental emotional aspect of health and wellness is definitely not my my expertise by far. So it's so important for me, and I think for everybody, to understand what the thoughts mean and why they're there to the best of our ability, which is why we need people to help us, right? We all need people to help us. We need our team. But that's how I see it. It's a symptom.
Yeah, I mean, our feelings and emotions always make sense. Whether it's guilt or anger or sadness or fear, they always make sense. Our thoughts don't always make sense. So I want to take a moment to separate the two to help your listeners understand they're deeply interconnected. So it's not my baby crying that makes me feel anxious. It's what I tell myself about my baby crying. It's the thought that leads to the anxiety, right? It's not the not getting the 10 things on my to-do list done that makes me feel guilty, or the slowing down that makes me feel guilty. It's what I tell myself about those things. So the emotions just always make sense. And we do want to pause and ask ourselves, well, what's the thought I'm having, or what's the belief I'm moving through this moment with? Most of the time, that is not a fact. And many of us come into motherhood with all this misinformation, all these beliefs about what it means to be a good mom, all this misinformation about what our child needs most from us. And so we're then moving with this assumption that we're not doing enough, which leads to guilt, because we're not meeting some expectation which actually is not backed up by the research.
Yeah. So why is it that when we start to realize, okay, I'm burned out, I am not doing my best, I'm going to go and I'm going to take a little time to relax and just chill out. But then it's like the next day you're like, why am I right back to where I was when I took a little time for myself?
Yeah. Well, I want to differentiate between burnout and kind of as if this were happening in our normal life. I am sure you've talked about this, but burnout, one of the symptoms of true burnout is that rest does nothing for someone's level of energy and, you know, recalibration after rest. So that is a real sign and symptom of something much bigger. And, you know, we want to be catching this fatigue, this overwhelm, this anxiety early enough so that it doesn't lead to burnout.
Sure. Yeah. Good point.
Right?
Yeah, great point.
That said, let me address the question. It's sort of for the everyday mom out there. that mom likely has some belief, some fear-based belief that sounds like rest is lazy. If I'm slowing down and pausing, I'm doing something wrong. I'm wasting time.
Yeah.
They may also have some sort of a belief that sounds like, actually, this is sort of interesting, and I would invite all of us to consider this. If I'm feeling good, if I'm feeling calm, that means I'm not working hard enough. So a big core belief many high-achieving, performance-based women bring into motherhood is feeling good, feeling calm, feeling rested means I'm not working hard enough. So we actually get in our own way of accessing the thing that we say we want most. So there's a real contradiction in there for us.
Yeah, no, that makes so much sense. And so how do you get out of that? How do you teach people to get out of that cycle?
Yeah. First thing we want to do is get really clear with ourselves. We can't change anything we're not aware of. You and I both know that. Most people know that, right?
Yeah.
So we first want to ask ourselves the really hard questions, right? And that question that I invite everybody to ask themselves is, what part am I playing in the things that aren't working for me? Very different question than how is this my fault and where am I to blame? That's a question that many of us will ask ourselves. We'll be really critical and we'll take more than our 100% responsibility, right? We'll take responsibility for the things that are actually not our responsibility, but we want to pause and say, how might I be contributing to this situation? What are my beliefs? What are my thoughts? What are my actions? And we need to ask that with so much self-compassion, because until we take personal responsibility for those things, nothing's going to change, right? So we ask that question, and then we begin a process of asking ourselves, is it possible that that thing I'm telling myself is not true, right? Byron Katie, all her work, there's a lot of different people who have studied ways to change the thoughts that are on repeat in our brain that are leading to a lot of internal, emotional, physical, psychological distress. My process for that is first of all, how do I feel when I tell myself this thing? Most of us are going to feel really tense and tight in our body. Second question, is it possible that this belief is not true? Little side note, one of the pieces of research that I find the most fascinating is that as humans, we would actually rather be right and fail than be wrong and succeed.
Whoa.
Meaning, right? Meaning, we get so hooked on to the things that we tell ourselves are true, right? It's just not possible. My body just doesn't do that thing, right? You've probably heard this. We get so, or have your own, and we'll fight to the death for those things. So much so that we get in our way of accessing what we really want. So here's an example. Someone might say, it's not possible to both grow my business and be a good mom. Right? Someone else might say, just to pull it into the early motherhood thing, my baby will never takes a bottle. She won't take a bottle, right? Or no one else can put my baby to sleep except me. These are the things I hear, right? And we defend that. We have to be willing to open up to the possibility that we're wrong about some of those things, right? Once we do that, we can then play around, and we can go through the whole cycle if you want to, but there are other things we can do to say, okay, what's a different belief I can try and emphasize? How do I feel when I have that new belief? And then what's one little action step I can take from that new belief? So there is a process for this, but we have to A, know what we're telling ourselves, and B, be willing to be wrong about those things.
That's so interesting. And yeah, it can be hard to be wrong, but it seems like it would be easier to be wrong. If you can let go of that stuff, if you can figure out how to, and that's what you're for, is to help to let go of those things so you can move forward. Well,
most of us who are go-getters, right? Sure, we are, those of us who are really successful, we know that making mistakes is part of the process, right? If we're really going to be successful, we have made so many mistakes to get there. So we have some element of, a willingness to not know the answer and to be wrong and make mistakes. But again, if we go back to like, I have this on my desk, this little like beautiful stacking,
Yes,
well,
my dad
right?
got, sorry, it's a total memory that you just put in my brain, that my dad brought a couple of those back from Russia, just like that. Yeah, they're so fun. Yeah.
And I love them because, like, here's the beautiful mom. She's all put together. She's running her business. She's the executive in or she's an entrepreneur, whatever she is. She looks beautiful on the outside, and I won't take time to pull it out. But inside is this little teeny tiny version of her.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's the version that believes that if she slows down, something bad is going to happen. If she's not worrying, something bad is going to happen. If she's not fixing and planning, something bad is going to happen. Right?
Yeah.
And so it's that version that we're wanting to really understand. Where did she learn that? What is that coming from? Because we want to validate, of course, we don't make this stuff up. We're taught it somewhere. But really to understand how impactful this way of being in the world is. And it's hard to be wrong. We like to be right. It's the human condition. We like to know what we're doing. It's very uncomfortable to be wrong or not know what we're doing, which ties into one other thing, Nikki, that I'll just bring in here, is that many of us who are doers have been taught somewhere along the way that feeling uncomfortable emotion is a problem. And that if we begin to feel some emotions that don't feel good, we have to do something to make them stop.
Squash them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So can you give us examples, or can you walk us through how you work with people on some of these things? Because that's, I guess what I would assume is this is usually some pretty long-term stuff, because it can be some pretty deep-seated stuff. Yes?
Yeah, I mean, I was a traditional psychotherapist for 20 years. I have been a traditional psychotherapist. I actually don't believe that the traditional model of psychotherapy is as helpful as it needs to be. So my work now is really working with women in a 12-week program that takes them through a very specific system that helps unhook them from this life in motherhood where they are burnt out, anxious, guilty, worried all the time, and unintentionally creating the potential for an insecure attachment with their baby or children, which can unintentionally lead to all kinds of challenges emotionally, physically, psychologically, socially for our children. So that model, that system starts with uncovering those fear-based beliefs that we bring into motherhood with us, so that we know what we're working with.
So how do you, but I'm going through my own sort of program and trying to understand my own, we call them blocks, or we call them, whatever those things are that we don't understand. How do you, and I think that there are different techniques, but how do you help people uncover whatever it is? Because you're going back to, is it generational? Is it pre-7 years old? Is it whatever? And you're like, I don't know. And some people do know, right? I give that, but some people just don't know.
Well, we can work backwards, right? So if I have a mom, or if there's someone listening who right now, the results of their life, what their life looks like is that they're feeling frazzled, they're not sleeping well, they are feeling disconnected from their partner, there's conflict in their life, they're not reaching the goals they want to physically or professionally or socially, right? So that's the results of their life. The first question is, what kind of choices are you making on a daily basis? Like, really, not what choices do you want to be making, but what are the choices that you're making on a daily basis? What are your habits? Then we ask, okay, what are the emotions that you're primarily feeling on a daily basis? We all feel all emotions. We will have moments and glimmers of joy and hopefulness, and then we'll have other emotions that feel like frustration and disappointment and sadness and anxiety and guilt. But what are the primary emotions that you're feeling? And then I'm going to ask them, okay, what are the thoughts that you have? What goes through your mind when things get stressful? When you're in a moment of uncertainty or unpredictability or chaos, right? And then we ask, what are the beliefs, what are the things that you believe or fear are true about yourself? We've just gone backwards in that pipeline.
Interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
We can ask the same question in the other direction. What is the life you most want in motherhood right now? How do you want to feel in your relationships, in work, in your body, in relationship to your baby or child? What are, so to paint the life that you want most, paint that picture for me. In that life, what are the choices that you're making on a daily basis? What are the thoughts, what are the emotions that you're feeling primarily in your life? What are the thoughts that you have when things become uncertain and unpredictable and chaotic? And what do you believe to be most true about yourself in that version of yourself? So that gives sort of two parallel examples of what it looks like when the results of our life are actually a direct reflection of the deepest fears that we have about ourselves, or motherhood, or our children, or fill in the blank, our bodies, or our work, or whatever that is. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Nikki?
Yeah, totally makes sense. So, one of the things that you said a little while ago that I like, that I think resonates with a lot of people though, is the myths that we all, not that we all, but that lay out there that many of us can fall into. And so you said you wanted to bust some of those myths. I love Mythbusters.
Me too.
So let's talk about that.
Yeah. So, I want to pass it on to you. So you're not a mom,
right,
to humans. You're a mom to dogs and a business and all that other stuff,
Yeah.
right? But you're not a mom to little humans. I'm just curious, what have you heard about what it means to be a good mom?
Well, I guess, the first thing that comes to me is patience, which I always have to work on. Patience and kind and giving, and I think it's not overly restrictive, but you want to have restrictions, right? You got to have rules and regulations, and I don't know what else.
Yeah, good. This is great to work with, and you're in the same kind of line of work that I am. You work with the body. I work with emotions and thoughts, and many of the people who are listening who aren't helping professionals will come up with things like, good moms sacrifice themselves for their children.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Good moms want to be with their kids all the time. Right? I would add that many of your listeners can probably relate to a lot of these things that you said, but there's an always before that word. Good moms are always patient. They're always kind. They're always giving. They're always, know what the right rules are, right? There's a lot of rigid all or nothing thinking that many of us bring into motherhood with us. Now, many of us have that thinking even before motherhood, which, we can kind of navigate when, we can, we're worried, we're taking care of ourselves, but not another little human. But this all or nothing rigid thinking comes from fear. So we're bringing fear into motherhood with us. What we know about healthy, successful, I'm going to put quotes around that term, motherhood, is that successful mothers are taking care of themselves first in service of their children. Successful mothering requires that we are taking care of, in my world, it's my brain, of course, brain and body is connection, so that it is connected, so that they can be resilient to the stress of motherhood. There is so much unpredictability and uncertainty that comes with motherhood and chaos. And many of us have learned, okay, I'm going to just do certain things to eliminate the uncertainty and unpredictability in my life, which of course doesn't work in motherhood.
Right.
So those same skills fuel anxiety versus helping us feel more in control.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Go ahead. Did you have a question about that?
Well, no, I think it was more of a comment, because it goes back to, if you don't feel well, you don't do well. If you don't feel good,
Exactly.
You don't do good. And so we have to be in a place where we're as optimal as possible, right, to be able to take care of the kiddos. So we've got to take care of us to be able to take care of, the kids, the family, the business, the dogs, all of the things, right?
Yeah, and taking care of and connecting with our kids has much less to do with what we're doing and much more to do with how we're showing up as we're doing those things. So new moms often get kind of hyper obsessed about sleep training and feeding and discipline and all these things that are about taking action, doing the right thing, saying the right thing. And many high achievers, I find in my work, will come to me saying, I'm doing everything I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
I'm doing all the right things and nothing's working. I'm still feeling guilty. I'm still feeling anxious. My baby's still not sleeping. My toddler's still throwing tantrums, right? So it's very confusing. Why are these things not working? When it comes to motherhood, we have to remember that our nervous system and our children's nervous system are interconnected. Doesn't matter really what I do. Now, of course, I take that with a grain of salt. Of course, there are choices that we need to be making as mothers. But if we're doing all the right things from an activated nervous system state, from a place of anxiety, our kids are gonna, remember what emotions we breathe out are the emotions our kids breathe in. They're gonna be feeding off our anxiety, our heightened nervous system response. That is not gonna help them sleep. That is not gonna help their nervous systems calm down. So I think that is really like one of the big, we're tying two myths together here actually, right? Successful moms do all the right things. And the other one is, successful moms sacrifice themselves or good moms sacrifice themselves. We can't both show up the way our kids need us to and be depleted and self-sacrifice at the same time.
Yeah. It reminds me, I don't know, to me, I put this connection here, but I have, my word of the year every year. And so my word of the year has always been, not always, mostly been, it's a doing, right? Something that is a doing. Last year, my word of the year was just listen.
Yes.
And so that's kind of why it made me think about that, because if we can just take the time to sit back and listen to the body and listen to what we need and to be calm, and it's going to calm the nervous system and it's going to calm the little one. And I wasn't really ready to give that word up because it might just be one that I just need to take with me forever. But that to me is what sort of resonated, was just sometimes you just got to listen and be still.
Right. But here's the conflict for most people.
Okay.
Listening, being patient, being present requires us to be willing to feel emotional discomfort and still trust that we're okay.
Interesting, yeah.
Because if we're really listening, if I'm really being present with what's happening in the moment, if I'm really accessing patience, I'm also allowing myself to feel all the normal emotions that come with what I'm listening to and what I'm hearing. What's happening in the moment? What's happening for my child? And again, many of us doers and achievers, we've gotten really good at doing and achieving because when we slow down, we actually feel all the emotions that somewhere in our earlier lives we were taught were dangerous and bad and wrong. So yes, all of that is actually the key to successful mothering, all of that. But in order to be able to do that, we actually have to learn how to feel uncomfortable emotions and still trust that we're okay. Our nervous system doesn't know that yet. We come into motherhood with our nervous system believing that if I'm feeling anger, sadness, disappointment, guilt, fear, whatever it is, that means there's a problem or there's something wrong with me or something wrong with the other person. When my child feels that, when my baby cries, when my toddler's upset, when my teenager's having a hard time, our nervous system, if we're not doing this work, will go danger, 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 danger. And we'll jump up to try to do something to fix the emotion. And that's where we get off track with attachment. That's where we get off track with our own kind of learning how to manage our own mental health from the inside out. We expect other things or need other things outside of us to change in order for us to feel okay. That is like putting kerosene on a fire in motherhood.
Yeah. So do you have tools that you can share that can help with this?
Absolutely. I am going to teach you something that I call the 3 C's. I do want to remind all of us that these things are easier they're more effective when we have the belief system that allows them to be effective. So one of the things I don't love about just teaching tools, right? If you go online and there'll be a mom coach about how to balance work and motherhood, or someone who's helping someone's physical fitness and says, just do these,
Yes.
exercises.
Yes.
Is that if we have a belief about ourselves that is incongruent with the action, it's not going to last for very long.
Right.
So if I believe that my needs and wants don't matter, or I'm not worthy, or if I believe I'm not enough, or I'm not okay, that action is going to be really hard to access. I'm going to lose steam. I'm going to find a million excuses why it doesn't work, and it won't be sustainable.
Yeah.
So we really do need to start with the belief. Does that make sense?
Yes, totally.
To you?
Yeah, absolutely.
The three C's is what I teach women, mothers, for moving from a difficult, unpleasant emotion back to a more pleasant one. So this is another way of saying teaching mothers to move from sympathetic, fight, flight, freeze nervous system to parasympathetic, rest and digest. We were talking about that a moment ago.
Yep.
Why is that ability to move from a heightened nervous system back down to a grounded nervous system important? Because our children are borrowing our nervous systems. So we do not have to feel good all the time. We do not have to be Zen mamas and always feel calm and peaceful, but we do need to know how to come back down when we're activated, because usually the threat is a perceived threat and not a real threat.
Right.
But we're acting as if there's a real crisis here. Our baby's crying, our child is having a tantrum, my baby is disappointed that I am not going to be home to tuck them in at night, whatever that thing is.
Yeah.
Okay? So the first C is curiosity. And this is something that, again, most of us doers and high achievers don't do this, which is just to pause and say, okay, what am I actually feeling in my body? What is actually happening in my body? My tummy's tight, my jaw is clenched, my heart is racing, right? Whatever that looks like for that individual. And what emotion might I connect with that feeling? Oh, I'm really pissed. I'm frustrated. I'm feeling guilty. I'm terrified, whatever that emotion is.
Yep.
I'm feeling disappointed. Again, many of us have been told that leaning into emotion is dangerous. So we've never actually done that. So that has to be the first step. Second step, compassion. So again, many of us high performers have been taught somewhere in our life that the only way to succeed is to be hard on ourselves. Yep. Do more. What's wrong with you? Don't waste time, right? And actually what the science tells us, what all the research tells us, is that when we're being self-critical, we're actually turning up the volume on our sympathetic nervous system, fight, flight, or freeze. Yep. Because we're disconnecting from ourselves. And again, I love research, so I'll just put that out there. When we're in moments of disconnection, our nervous system is in a fight, flight, or freeze response. Yep. When we're in moments of connection, we're in rest and digest, right? And to your point, we want to be able to come back to rest and digest when there's not a real threat. Right. So self-compassion is just about giving ourselves permission to feel whatever we're feeling, because in the context, that feeling always makes sense. So, of course, I'm feeling frustrated. I have a meeting in a half an hour and my kiddo won't put their shoes on. Right. Of course I'm feeling disappointed. I was really hoping that so-and-so would feel happy about this and they don't seem to really care. Of course I'm feeling anxious. I do not know what's happening next. I have no idea when my child is ever going to sleep again, right? The emotions always make sense. Yep. First, C, curiosity. Second, C, compassion. Third, C, choice. How do I want to feel? Something we don't realize is that when we give an emotion space to move through us, it moves through us in 90 seconds. Probably a statistic you've heard before. 90 seconds. Do you know that?
I don't think I've heard that, no. Fascinating. Yeah.
So usually, like if you take other animals in the wild that don't have the type of brain humans do where we hold on to things, right? That emotion comes and goes in 90 seconds. An emotion is just our brain releasing chemicals into our bloodstream to get our body ready to fight or fly or play dead, or flee or play dead. So the heart racing, all those physiological symptoms of emotion, 90 seconds, if we let them move through us. What we usually do is add a story onto the emotion.
Yeah.
And that keeps that emotion going.
Holds on to it, yeah.
Okay? So step 1 and step 2, help the emotion move. Curiosity, self-compassion, third question, choice. How do I want to feel in this moment? My toddler's throwing a tantrum in the grocery store. I don't want to feel embarrassed. I don't want to feel, frustrated. I don't want to feel, terrified that every mom in here is going to judge me. I want to feel confident. I want to feel grounded. I want to feel compassionate towards my child. What thought can I engage with that's going to help me feel that emotion? I can remind myself that the feeling's never the problem. I can remind myself that there are mothers all over the planet whose children are tantruming at the exact same time.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
I can remind myself to take some type of deep breath. The breath I teach is one where our exhale is longer than our inhale. That automatically triggers a sympathetic nervous system response. Right? I can get down at my child's level. So there are things we can do that are going to help us access the emotions we want to access. Most of us go straight to the doing. We don't do the first 2 steps.
Yeah.
So by the time we've done the first 2 steps, we've settled our nervous system, we can now approach our child from a more grounded nervous system, which means they're going to borrow that nervous system from us. Usually we find at that moment, if we've done those things, that our baby's crying slows down, that our toddler's tantruming shifts a little bit, right? That the reciprocity between ourselves and our partner, or the person at work, or the other family member, or the friend, something shifts because we're bringing something different in our own nervous system to the situation. What do you think of that?
I think that's amazing. I'm a little bit stuck on the breathing.
Great. Tell me more.
I think only because I'm super curious, because what I tend to hear, especially when it's super basic, right? People are like, just breathe, do your box breathing, right? So it's in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, hold for 4. So what you said was you breathe out longer. And so
correct.
Talk to me about the differences and what that means.
Yeah, great. So there's not, for me, I want people to find a breath pattern that works for them, right? There is not one right way to do pretty much anything. There are many ways. What I love about this breath, and again, I have a history of anxiety, critical thinking, perfectionist thinking, and this breath has changed so much for me physiologically. So when we're in a state of threat, right? Remember, our body doesn't know the difference between real and perceived threat. We're actually taking in more oxygen. We're breathing in more than we're breathing out, because our body needs oxygen for our muscles to activate. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
When we breathe out, when we exhale longer than we inhale, that breath pattern is sending a message to our brain that there's no real threat.
Okay.
Because if there were a real threat, we would be hyperventilating. We'd be, all these physiological actions are in service of something. If we're really being chased by a bear or having to get out of a house that's burning down, all the rapid heart rate, the rapid breath work, that breathing, that's all in service of something. The problem is that when our toddler's having a tantrum, there's actually no real crisis here. Right? So that shift in breath pattern really shifts the chemical reaction in our body. It activates the vagus nerve in a way that turns on parasympathetic nervous system response. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally makes sense. I love that. It actually makes me think of speaking in front of people.
Yes.
Because I know for me, that's what happens is the breath gets stuck here and then you can't talk. You're like, right? And so you have to calm. And so anyway, doesn't have to do with kids, but it's along the same lines.
But again, that's what we were saying in the beginning of this conversation. I mean, these tools work for anybody. Why is it important when we have a small human in front of us? Because they're borrowing our nervous system. They won't stop tantruming if they feel some form of threat. They're looking to us to remind them that they're safe. Right?
I love that. We only have a couple of minutes left, so I want to make sure, for one, that people know where you are and where to find you, but if there's anything that we haven't covered that we need to cover, I want to make sure that we do.
This is, we will not have time to get into this, but I want to mention one other myth that feels so important to mention here, because a lot of my work is with working, career-driven women who are experiencing anxiety, guilt, overwhelm, and early motherhood.
Mm-hmm.
Secure attachment, which we know is required for a child's brain to develop in a healthy way, requires both separation and connection. So to form a healthy bond, relationship, attachment with our child, we do not have to be around all the time. You can have a job that you're committed to and have a secure attachment with your child, because it's not about the quantity of time you're together. Of course, we need to spend some time with our children, but it has everything to do with the state that we're in when we are with our child. And so I just want to make sure your moms out there who have, you know, important careers and are also raising young kids understand that they literally do not need to choose between the two. They're going to have to do motherhood and work a little bit differently so that they're, you know, not coming in with all the, like, I have to do it all to be successful. And we can be both really successful at work and successful moms. So just want to plant that seed.
Part, I'm assuming that's part of your program, is how to work through all of that.
Yeah, so the program, the first part, we work through uncovering all these beliefs that we talked about. The second part is I teach women how to tend to their own nervous systems in moments of uncertainty and unpredictability, so they don't have to rely on the things outside of them to change for them to access that groundedness. The third part is all about how do we now parent from that grounded nervous system state so that we can create the foundation for secure attachment with our children. So all three of those are included in this 12-week program.
Awesome. I love that so much. So how do people find you?
Instagram, very active on Instagram. Please come introduce yourself if you come over there. I am really committed to providing as much free support as I possibly can. You'll find that on Instagram. My website, katekripke.com, talks about this program I just mentioned and has some other resources that are available for folks if this resonates.
Awesome. Yeah, I love your Instagram site. I was doing a little, you know, research and looking around and all of that stuff, but you do have some really great information on there, and it's very calming. It's very good.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, we will have you on again. You're here in Boulder, so close. So next time we'll have you on again. We'll have you here in the studio. That'll be a ton of fun. I would love to meet you
I would love that so much.
Yeah, that would be super cool. So anyway, reach out to Kate. She's doing great stuff. I know there are a lot of people out there who could use a little help. There are a lot of people who can use a lot of help. And sometimes we're a little bit of both, right?
I mean, we all need help, and that's the other thing. It's hard to ask for and receive help, but man, I would not be where I am right now if I weren't doing all the things that I've talked about and had my own coaches and therapists along the way. So we all need help.
We do. We all need our team, and I think that it's a key thing to remember that doing things on our own and alone is, well, not always successful, and it makes it really difficult. And we've got to find our team, whether it's in business and health, or in both, right? You know, all of the things, people we trust, who we can lean on, who see outside of ourselves. I think that's a big thing, especially when it's the mental and emotional stuff, and, you know, physical health as well. If you know, I can look at things from a different perspective for my clients, but I also have my people who can look at me from a different perspective and say,
100%.
Have you thought about this? Nope, I haven't, because I'm sitting.
Yeah, we all. I think that's such a. I mean, that's that part of like being willing to be wrong or being willing to not know, right? Because we don't know everything. We're not right about everything. So we need other eyes and ears and voices to help us see what we can't see. For sure.
Yeah. Team, community, it's important. Good stuff.
That's great.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So grateful that you joined us. Everybody out there, reach out to Kate. Of course, you can find us here every Thursday, 10 a.m. Mountain Time, streaming live on KUHSdenver.com. The stream. You can find me, all of the website, the socials, all the stuff, Taste Life Nutrition. And then my favorite thing that we're doing now is your Precision Wellness Blueprint. I have created this little program that is ultra personalized, and also it's an entry into going deeper. So one of my favorite things is layering in data for people. So we can do this at a sort of an entry-level point that's still very personalized. It's a really great approach. But then, if you want to, which is my favorite part, we start layering in genetics and epigenetics and labs and all of these fun things. So we, especially with the genetic component, it's just my favorite thing in the world is the genetic piece of it. And so it gives us, I need to talk a little bit more about my own story because that's kind of how it started. But it really is a great way to take whatever you are struggling with or not, and just looking to optimize and really taking this with you for the rest of your life and being able to build on what we do together. So reach out. We're doing it for right now for $97. So pretty.
Yes, please. I mean, that sounds amazing. Sign me up. Gosh.
It's cool stuff. It is. It's cool stuff. So anyway, yeah, $97. Let me know if it's something that you're interested in. Happy to chat. I'm here to be of service to anybody who needs it. And that's another reason why I'm doing it too, is because doing it this way at this entry level point still gives people who can't go into these really big full programs that can be overwhelming for some people, especially financially. We can still get some really good stuff together at a really good cost. And so that was
such a good kickstart, right? Like
goal.
Start somewhere. Yeah.
Exactly. Thank you for that. Yeah, that's my hope and my goal. I got tired of not being able to help more people, right? I'm like, let's just do this. And so that's what we're doing for 2026 is just kind of trying to reach as many people as possible with all of the goodness. Yeah.
I love it.
All right. Thanks everybody for joining us. Find us here. Oh, I'm not here next week. I'm speaking at a seminar, so we'll be here the following week. But Kate, thank you again. You were great for all of your wisdom. Reach out to Kate. Let me know when you want to jump on again. We'll do it. Cool.
Really great to be with you today. Thanks, Nikki.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Stick with me just one second.